very good afternoon to all the participants and delegates. I begin today by acknowledging the contribution of our forefathers who have helped in creating a world based on freedom and human dignity. I extend my respect to people of diverse cultures, faiths, colors, and genders, and pledge to work for equity, inclusivity, peace, and harmony. I, Anaika Sohal, along with my co-host Eseka Shaw, students of DME Media School, welcome you to the plenary session of 6th edition of the world's first 7-day Target Collocation Conference. ICAN6 is organized by DME Media School in collaboration with the School of Communication and Creative Arts, Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia, and is sponsored by the Indian Council of Social Science Research, ICSSR. This time, ICAN6 is organized in a staggered format which will take place at 4 different venues across India and abroad.
I would like to take a moment and introduce organizer of the conference to our audience. Delhi Metropolitan Education, DME, is an A-grade premier educational institute affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh University, New Delhi, and approved by the Bar Council of India. DME Media School is one of the most promising media institutes in the country. It offers BA in Journalism and Mass Communication. It is recognized as a school focused on the growth of its faculty and students through academic and co-curricular activities. ICAN6 has come with the theme Identity, Culture, Agenda-Driven Newscast with the hashtag Cultural Identity for Diversity. ICAN6 has support of more than 21 partners. The conference is sponsored by Indian Council of Social Science Research. Our conference partners are ICAN6 Gen Section, GMIC Global Media Education Council. Our knowledge partners are Indraprastha International Institute of Research and Art Studies, Faridabad, Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University for Journalism and Mass Communication, Bhopal, Adamas University, Kolkata, West Bengal, Institute of Applied Medicines and Research, IAMR, Ghaziabad, KSF, Keshav Suri Foundation. Our international partners are Daffodil International University, Bangladesh, Institute for International Journalism, Ohio University, USA, and Beacon House, National University, Pakistan. Our media partners are The Policy Times, Jai Hind Times, Quick News, and News 44. ICAN6 is powered by Asian Media and Cultural Studies Network Australia, Australia-India Film Practitioners and Researchers Network Australia, SPI, the Student Council of DME Media School, RIM, Research and Innovation in Media, Research Cell of DME, Rickman Fellowship Society India Delhi branch. Since 2018, DME Media School has been organizing the International Conference ICAN. The themes for the former editions were India and Changing Aspects of News in ICAN 1, Indian Cinema and Alternate Networks in ICAN 2, Issues of Community Agenda and News in ICAN 3, Information, Communication and Artificial Networks in ICAN 4, Inclusivity, Convergence and Alternative Negotiations in ICAN 5, and now, Identity, Culture, Agenda-Driven Newscast in ICAN 6.
This unique conference is conceptualized by Dr. Amrish Saxena, Professor and Dean of DME Media School. He is the convener of ICAN6. I invite Sir to felicitate our guest and deliver his opening address.
Okay, so this is indeed a matter of great pleasure that again Akshay is here with his team, and last year also we had a very fruitful session, and the other guests who are there in this session, Kritika is there with us, and then Anjali is also with us. So I welcome Akshay, Kritika and Anjali to spare so much time to be with us in this session. And as we every year we try to connect to the young people on the issues which are really pertinent and wherein everybody has to have an understanding and everybody has to have an appreciation of the issues which are relevant to our society. So from here, I hand over it to the Akshay.
I'm happy to share that Journalism at the Red DME is the official newsletter of DME Media School. This fortnightly publications cover all the major activities happening in and out of the campus. It is a student-centric newsletter carried out entirely by them under the supervision of faculty members. DME TV is an official YouTube channel where you can find the playlist related to all the sessions, lecture series, film festivals and conferences. For more information, follow us on our social media handles and YouTube channel DME TV. Today, we all are here for the plenary session on the topic Querying the Education. Now, I hand over to my co-host Isika Shaw, who will introduce you to the speakers of the session.
We have four esteemed guests with us today. Akshay Tyagi, Head Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group and founding member Keshav Suri Foundation. Akshay Tyagi, as the head of DEI at the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group, is a diversity, equity and inclusion enthusiast with extensive experience in promoting DEI in the hospitality industry. He collaborates closely with leadership, HR teams and employee resource groups to ensure that diversity and inclusion are integrated into all aspects of the organization. With a background in journalism and mass communication and a passion for driving positive change, Akshay has been actively engaged with various marginalized communities at various intersections in order to integrate them with workplace and mainstream. He brings a deep understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities in the hospitality industry and leverages his expertise to create impactful programs. In addition to his role at the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group, Akshay is actively involved in industry forums and networks dedicated to advancing diversity and inclusion. He frequently speaks at conferences and events, sharing his insights and best practices to inspire others across industries. We have three more guests with us: Anjali Rao, Peer Counselor, Keshav Suri Foundation; Kritika Kanojia, Assistant Manager, Social Media; and Dev, Executive Social Media, Keshav Suri Foundation. We welcome you all. Now I invite Akshay Tyagi sir to take the session forward from here. Sir, please.
Thank you. Namaskar everyone. First of all, thank you Delhi Metropolitan Education. I remember last like 2 months back I was in Canada, and in Toronto there is a specific place which is known as Village, which is a hub for queer people, and there was a quote that it takes a village to bring in the change, and I am extremely proud to share here that it takes DME to bring in the change in the education sector. So thank you for initiating these conversations which are very important. We all know that education plays a very important role when it comes to bringing in change, because it is somehow something that helps you connect with the young people, young minds, and especially with as sensitive topic as LGBTQIA+ or people with disabilities, the kind of inhibitions, stereotypes, biases that we all have are so strong that it is definitely going to take a long time. But at the same time, extremely proud of the country that we are and the sort of tolerance that we have with respect to different ideas, notions of identities and so much. And I am extremely proud that when in 2018 Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality, it is in year 2022 that we are proudly discussing about marriage equality as well. But I would like to mention that when it comes to creating safe spaces, we all know that what makes it really tough for people to succeed in their lives is that the environment is not favorable enough. And when in society at the very early age things are still easy and people are still fluid to understand the whole idea of gender or sexual orientation, in education what brings most difficult time for queer people is the notion and biases that we as students have for our peer students and the colleagues. And it is very important that if you are wanting to bring in change, we all need to understand the idea of diversity at the very early stage of our lives. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but I am sure each one of us look at the mirror every morning. How many of us have realized that one of our eye is smaller than the other one? A finger of one of our hand are different than the other one. So if you have done that, then you could understand that if you are so different and diverse in our own existence, then the world is going to be diverse for sure. And for not even once we have asked one of our eye to remain shut, one of our hand to not work. And if we are acceptive and are appreciative of the differences that we as an individual are bringing to this world, then why are we not appreciative and acceptive of the changes that the society has to offer to us? On that note, I have two amazing colleagues of mine today with me, and rightly so, when we talk about queer lives, it is very, very important that we give queer people that chance to speak for themselves. And I'm extremely honored to be working with both of them at my workplace, and not just two of them, but so many of them, which are helping us not just understand the power of diversity, but the importance of creating an inclusive space, the whole idea of equity and why it is important, and you will get to know about it for sure in times to come. So I would like to actually first begin with some round of introduction. Kritika, you use your pronouns as they, them, which is very, very important for the world to know. And I would like you to start with your brief introduction and also emphasize on the importance of pronouns for you.
Hi, I'm Kritika. I identify as a Dalit queer, gender fluid feminist, and I use they and them pronouns. For me, specifically using pronouns is very, very, very crucial for queer people, all queer people, regardless of their identity, because it is, if you're not using the right pronouns, I think specifically it's violence, because if you use the right pronouns, it's very gender affirming for us. If you use she and her pronouns, for example, Anjali, who's a trans woman, if you use he and him pronouns for her, it will be very gender dysphoric for her. Similarly, if you use she, her pronouns for me, it will be very dysphoric for me. So dysphoria is something that queer people often experience when we don't use the right pronouns for them. And dysphoria means I won't feel comfortable in my body. I will start feeling like, oh, because in general, our bodies don't match our minds, which is what Anjali also says often, that our bodies don't often match our minds. And that is why it's very crucial for allies and everybody else to use right pronouns for us.
Can you share a brief, your background, your story as well with us?
I came out in 2019 as bisexual. I came out as bisexual first to all my family. And then eventually I realized that, okay, I am not a woman. I am, in fact, because I've never felt like a woman. I am non-binary. I am gender fluid. After a brief session with my therapist, I realized that, okay, I am gender fluid. And that is when I came out to everybody. I came out to my family. My background is I've done journalism. My specialization is audiovisual production. I did it from Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication. And I've been working ever since. I've worked with brands like Nat Geo, I've worked with Yuva, I've worked with Good Times, and I've worked mostly in the content field. So I've done a bunch of documentaries, and yeah, I've been working, now I work at the Lalit as assistant manager, social media.
Thank you, Kritika. I think one of the very important aspect of Kritika sharing their story is that, I don't know, it's so strange that when you identify yourself as queer, you have to come out to the world, wherein in heteronormative world that we are all part of, how many times we come out as heteronormative or heterosexual to anybody. And these labels makes it very, very difficult. When at the same time people need to bring their identities forth, because if there is no recognition, there will be no understanding. If there is no understanding, there will be no acceptance. If there is no acceptance, there will be no action. And this is why these are discussions that are very, very important, and people to actually share their identities and pronouns is very, very important at the same time. Anjali, आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि you now work as peer counselor with Keshav Suri Foundation, लेकिन इससे पहले का सफ़र और how has been your acceptance journey for your own self?
नमस्कार सभी को, मेरा नाम अंजलि है और मैं एक ट्रांस वुमेन हूँ। मैं अपनी लाइफ की बात करूँ तो आज से 6 साल पहले मैंने अपने फैमिली को अपनी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में बताया था कि हाँ मैं एक ट्रांस वुमेन हूँ। पर कहते हैं ना कि इंसान को समझने में थोड़ा सा टाइम लगता है, शायद से हम लोगों के लिए ये चीज़ें नहीं हैं, क्योंकि आज की जनरेशन जितनी भी है और पहले की जनरेशन जितनी भी है वो इन चीज़ों को समझने में थोड़ा सा टाइम लगाते। तो उसी तरह मेरी फैमिली ने भी मुझे समझने में थोड़ा सा टाइम लगाया कि हाँ, उन्होंने कहा कि ठीक है हमारे लिए ये चीज़ नहीं है, बट जो आपको करना आप वो करो। तो आज के टाइम पे उन्होंने मुझे मेरी आइडेंटिटी के साथ मुझे एक्सेप्ट कर रखा है और मैं अपने काम की बात करूं तो पहले मैंने एज अ आउटरीच वर्कर मैंने मित्र ट्रस्ट में काम किया था। मित्र ट्रस्ट एक ऐसी संस्था है जो HIV एड्स पे काम करती है एज अ कम्युनिटी बेस्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है वो। उसी के साथ साथ हमारा एक मित्र ट्रस्ट में एक और प्रोजेक्ट था, गरिमा ग्रह के बारे में आपने सुना होगा शायद, कि गरिमा ग्रह एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट है, एक स्माइल प्रोजेक्ट, जिसके अंदर ट्रांसजेंडर्स के लिए एक शेल्टर होम है। शेल्टर होम जैसे कि उनकी स्किल्स पे काम किया जाता है, उनकी एजुकेशन पे काम किया जाता है। जो बच्चे अपनी फैमिली से दूर होने के बाद या किसी रीज़न से जो नहीं पढ़ पाते, जो अपनी एजुकेशन पूरी नहीं कर पाते, वहाँ पे उनको स्टे करा के देन उनकी एजुकेशन पे काम किया जाता है। तो वहाँ पे मैंने एज अ बिट्स कोर्स कोऑर्डिनेटर भी काम किया है। मैंने हम सफ़र ट्रस्ट की बात करूँ तो मैंने उनका एक प्रोजेक्ट था HIV सेल्फ टेस्टिंग, तो उसमें मैंने एज अ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑर्डिनेटर काम किया है। मैंने हम सफ़र में ही एज अ काउंसलर, और अब जो केशव सूरी फाउंडेशन है उसमें एज अ मैं पीयर काउंसलर काम करती हूँ, अपनी कम्युनिटी के साथ भी और नॉन कम्युनिटी भी। क्यों? क्योंकि शायद से मेंटल हेल्थ जो है वो सबकी बिगड़ सकती है, ठीक है। क्योंकि आज के टाइम पे हम देखें तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जो देखने के लिए है कि स्टडी को लेके हम स्ट्रगल करते हैं कि हाँ हमें पढ़ना है, तो वो सारी चीज़ें हमें डिप्रेस्ड करती हैं। सबसे बड़ी बात पार्टनर, फैमिली, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं। कम्युनिटी की बात करें तो जेंडर इश्यूज़ बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं। तो इन सारी चीज़ों को लेके मैंने अपनी चीज़ों में आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश करी और हम सभी लोगों की मदद करने की कोशिश करी है।
थैंक यू अंजलि। सो जैसा कि अंजलि ने कहा कि एक्सेप्टेंस विन इन फैमिली इज़ नॉट ईजी, और आई रिमेंबर देर इज़ अ ग्रुप, स्वीकार ग्रुप ऑफ पेरेंट्स, एंड एक मीटिंग में अरुणा जी ने मुझे कहा था कि एवरी टाइम अ चाइल्ड कम्स आउट, पेरेंट्स गो बैक टू द क्लोजेट। और वो इतनी पावरफुल स्टेटमेंट है, बिकॉज व्हेन एनी चाइल्ड इज़ कमिंग आउट, पहले बच्चे को भी बहुत टाइम लगता है टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड टू अफर्म कि दिस इज़ माई ट्रूथ। और उसके बाद जब पेरेंट्स को बताते हैं तो द काइंड ऑफ सोसाइटी दैट वी आर, इट्स सो हेट्रोनॉर्मेटिव इन इट्स नेचर, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग इज सोशली डिजाइंड फॉर एवरीबडी टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ इट। देर इज़ नो ऑप्शन फॉर पीपल कि चलो अब एक्सप्लोर करते हैं और फिर हम फिगर आउट कर लेंगे। पीपल आर पुट अंडर डिफरेंट जेंडर रोल्स and are asked to be a part of it, no matter if you believe in it or not. और ये जो fabric है is one of the hindrance in actually letting people be themselves. There is this feeling of allowing somebody कि you have to allow me to accept myself, please allow if the person is this, and that is so authoritative in its nature, as if I am doing some sort of a charity towards somebody in assisting them to be themselves. And that very feeling actually I think should be eradicated out. It is very, very important that instead of us seeking acceptance, we should be asking people to reflect back, to look at the instances where we were ignored, where we were made to shut, where we were excluded. And it's not that it just happened with queer people, it happens with each one of us. There are deprivations in each one of our lives. It could be even as simple as seeking happiness at some few instances wherein it's just that your cousin is not speaking to you and you're wanting to talk to that person. And if we start to recognize those minute privileges of ours to be in a zone wherein we are acceptive, and not just acceptive but are appreciated for who we are very, very important. On that note, I would actually like to go back to you again, Kritika. You come from diverse experiences, not just in your identity but also in the cities that you have moved over last some years. How has been your perception and about cities before and after you had been to all of them, and especially with respect to education, because you also traveled with respect to education? How did you see that paradigm of shift, especially in education sector, when it comes to inclusivity?
I think first of all, I was in Dehradun. I'm from Dehradun, and my primary schooling has been done from Dehradun. तो देहरादून में तो आई फील कि बहुत ही बिल्कुल ही एक बुलिंग का एटमॉस्फेयर था, एंड नॉट जस्ट, पहले तो फर्स्ट हर्डल दैट आई फेस्ड वाज नॉट बीइंग क्वेयर. फर्स्ट हर्डल इज अच्छा तुम दलित हो, तो दैट एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ माइंड and people bullying you because of your caste is the primary hurdle that you face. Then comes gender, then comes your queerness, then comes who you are. And when I was trying to figure out who I am, I was like, okay, अगर तुम इस इंसान को जो कि बहुत हाइपर फेमिनिन है तुम उनको गे बोल देते हो तो मेरा तो फिर क्या ही होगा. मैं तो ऑलरेडी इतनी ऑस्ट्रेसाइज्ड हूँ सोसाइटी से. सो व्हाट विल यू डू टू मी इफ आई कम आउट. So it became very extremely difficult. Like I was depressed, I think clinically depressed from 10th to 12th grade. And yeah, it affected everything. It affected my studies, it affected the people that I was dating. And in general, like all my experiences were very, very like difficult, so to speak. Then finally I moved to Pune. I went to Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication. That is the time where like my life actually changed because people are openly queer there. And I'm like, okay, maybe I am too. And that's when the self-exploration journey began. So I think education plays such a primary role in order to accept who you are. Because, okay, if everybody, if I see queer people around me, I'm like, okay, you know, it's okay for me to also come out and it's okay for me to also be queer then. So I had a few batchmates of mine. They were living together, in fact, in the hostel, and they were queer. And I asked my friend, I was like, you know, I think I might be queer. And she said, you know, why don't you go out and figure out? I said, what do you mean by that? She said, go out on a date. And even that idea was so terrifying to me. I was like, how do I go out? Oh my God, this is so scary. But then the confidence that the another queer person instills in you, you are like, okay, you know, maybe I can go out. So we did this presentation in school, in college, which was about the queer representation in mainstream cinema. And I chosen that specific subject because I was trying to find out who I was. So my professor asked me, okay, what does queer mean? And I said, I don't know. Because I did not know. And yeah, so another queer classmate of mine, they got up and they said that, yeah, so they explained what queer meant. And they looked at me and they nodded slightly. They were like, it's okay. It's okay if you don't know. And that also instilled some confidence in me that it's okay if I don't know right now. It's a journey. I have to figure out who I am. That was the day I actually went on a dating app and I said, okay, I will turn on both men and women. And that's when the entire exploration journey began. I was so happy. I came out. And then eventually I came out. Then I came back to Dehradun again. And my first job when I came back to Dehradun was, okay, we need to do a pride parade here. We need to educate people here. People don't know anything about the queer community here. They know about the Hijra community, but they don't know about the queer umbrella, so to speak. So when we did the Pride Parade, I think almost 10-15 people came out on camera. And that is revolutionary and very landmark in a city like Dehradun. And of course, that made me want to do queer activism even more. And when I did queer activism even more, I have to travel to cities like Bombay. I've traveled to cities overall. And last year I was called to this event called Pride Class. So Yuva does this event called the Pride Class, and they invited 10 queer creators just to felicitate them and recognize the work that they've been doing. So for me being a Dalit queer person, coming from a very small town like Dehradun, to be on that stage was very affirming for me. So overall, I think cities are now being more inclusive, are now changing, but it would have never happened if had I not gone to Pune. Had I not had a education system or supportive peers and supportive teachers, I would have never been able to discover who I am. I would have still been in a closet. So I think it's education, that is why it plays a very crucial part. Thank you.
But during the period when you were studying in Dehradun from class 10 to 12, so what was the response of your school with regard to your bullying or the other issues that you were facing with your classmates?
I think no action. First of all, no action was taken. I had gone and I had told my vice principal about my journey and my experience with this one specific person, and she called him. She of course reprimanded him, but no action was taken because how do you when no action is taken, then you again come to the closet and you're like, oh my God, okay. अभी तो कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा है, तो इससे better है कि I keep my mouth quiet for other things also. So when literally no action was taken.
So now you are spreading information about that. So when you go to any educational institution, how do you approach and do you talk to the administrative people to sensitize them as to what all is required in an educational institution to address such kind of problems?
So I have not been to many education systems, but I've gone back to my school and I've told them that, okay, you know, this happened. this shouldn't have happened. Can we do a sensitization session for kids? Because the age is 13 to 15 or 12 to 15, where you're actually, a queer kid is actually figuring out who they are. If their growth is stunted and you're told that, okay, there's shame in your journey, then you wouldn't be able to like explore even further. So I had gone back and they had said no. They had said, we don't want to do this in our school. So I said, okay.
I think in this, what is very, very important for us to understand is that the kind of conversations that we are having on sex, gender and sexual identities are very, very difficult ones, especially when it comes to schooling. They're like, teachers are refraining to teach people about reproduction.
Yeah.
And there is so much resistance talking about these topics which are very, very important. And we need to understand that every time there is dearth of content or appropriate or affirmation towards something and something is just filled with guilt, people will eventually find out more about it from different channels, which could be even a worse information. And I think the whole notion of misinformation about the identities is because that people have never reached out to the affirmative or the right channels.
Yeah.
Anjali, you studied in a government school, and we could understand you were in all boys school. How was the atmosphere there, and what were the challenges that you faced?
जब मैंने अपने जो सरकारी स्कूल में मैंने पढ़ना स्टार्ट किया, छठी क्लास में मैंने एडमिशन लिया, तो वहाँ मुझे सिंपल चीज़ एक ऐसी थी कि हाँ, वहाँ पे गर्ल्स तो है ही नहीं, बस सारे बॉयज़ बॉयज़ हैं। वहाँ गेट पे जाती मुझे बड़ा अजीब सा लगा। मैंने कहा नहीं, यहाँ कुछ अलग सा है, क्योंकि मेरी बचपन की आदत थी, मुझे लड़कियों के साथ खेलना पसंद था, लड़कियों के साथ घूमना पसंद था। मेरे बॉयज़ कोई फ्रेंड ही नहीं था कि लड़कियों की तरह तैयार होना, लड़कियों की तरह काजल लगाना, ये सारी चीज़ मेरी बचपन से रही है। तो जब मैंने फर्स्ट दिन मैंने गेट में एंट्री करी, क्योंकि मेरे को काजल लगाने का बहुत शौक था, मैंने काजल लगा के मैंने एंट्री करी। देन गार्ड, स्टार्टिंग मेरे गार्ड से होती है, गार्ड मुझे बड़े ध्यान से दिखता है, आ जाओ अंदर आ जाओ। तो वो सारी चीज़ मैंने उसी समय से फेस करना स्टार्ट करी। मैं क्लास के अंदर गई, क्लास के अंदर जाते एक लड़की ने पीछे से चिल्लाया लेडीज़। तो उस समय मुझे थोड़ा सा लगा कि शायद से किसी ने मुझे गलत बोला, क्योंकि शायद से उस समय मुझे अपनी चीज़ों को, अपनी आइडेंटिटी को लेके इतनी मैं श्योर नहीं थी कि शायद से मैं यही हूँ। उस समय मुझे थोड़ा सा बुरा लगा, उसने मुझे गलत बोला, पर ठीक है कोई बात नहीं, उसने मुझे बोला, मुझे थोड़ा सा रोना आया। देन मैंने फर्स्ट बेंच छोड़ के देन मैंने लास्ट बेंच पे बैठना स्टार्ट कर दिया, डर की वजह से। मुझे लगता है कि शायद से लड़के मुझे मारेंगे, लड़के मुझे कुछ गलत बोलेंगे, इन सारी चीज़ों को लेके मुझे लगा। धीरे धीरे समय बदला, मैं 7वीं क्लास में गई। 7वीं क्लास में एनुअल डे होता है, एनुअल डे पे मैंने पार्टिसिपेट किया और मुझे डांस का बहुत शौक था। बचपन से मुझे डांस करना इतना अच्छा, मतलब इतना पसंद था कि, और मैंने अपनी स्कूल लाइफ में मैंने एज अ स्टेट लेवल पे मैंने भरतनाट्यम किया है। और मुझे डांस का शौक इसलिए भी था क्योंकि शायद से मेरा बैकग्राउंड भी ऐसा है। मेरी जो सिस्टर है वो खुद एक डांसर है भरतनाट्यम की। तो मैंने अपने स्कूल में भरतनाट्यम करा। देन तब से मेरा नाम ना छमिया पड़ गया। लोग मुझे उस तरीके से नहीं बुलाते थे जो मेरा नाम था, मीन्स मेरा जो बर्थ नेम था उस तरीके से नहीं, मुझे छमिया करके बुलाते थे। धीरे धीरे चीज़ें होने लगी, मुझे अपनी चीज़ों को लेके समझ आने लगा कि मैं क्या हूँ। जिस समय मैंने अपने टीचर को बताया कि सर बात ऐसी है कि मुझे इस तरीके से मुझे अपनी क्लास, मतलब मेरे स्कूल में मुझे ट्रीट किया जाता है, तो उन्होंने मेरी हेल्प करी। शायद से वो इतने अंडरस्टैंडिंग थे मेरी चीज़ों को लेके, इतना सपोर्ट किया उन्होंने मुझे कि उन्होंने मेरी बात मेरे प्रिंसिपल तक करवाई, कि उन्होंने बोला कि ऐसी ऐसी बात है कि ये बच्चा कम्युनिटी से बिलोंग करता है या अपने आप को एक ट्रांस वुमेन मानता है। पर मेरे प्रिंसिपल भी बहुत अच्छे थे, उन्होंने हमारे लिए एक ट्रांस टॉयलेट जो होता है, मीन्स सुबह की शिफ्ट थी कि गर्ल्स की, और शाम दोपहर की शिफ्ट होती है बॉयज़ की, तो उन्होंने स्पेशल फीमेल्स वॉशरूम हमेशा खुलवा के रखते थे। शायद से मेरे साथ मेरी कम्युनिटी की और भी मेरी बहुत सारी बहनें थी जो उस स्कूल में थी। देन उस चीज़ों में मुझे लगता है कि शायद से मेरे स्कूल वालों ने मेरी चीज़ों को देखते हुए और भी आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए, मीन्स ऐसा तो नहीं है कि मेरे बाद कोई ऐसी ट्रांस वुमेन नहीं आएगी, उन सब के लिए वो वॉशरूम के लिए आज तक वो है। जब भी मैं जाती हूँ तो आज भी वो खुला ऐसे कैसे मिलता है वो चीज़। कुछ टीचर्स होते हैं कि हमारी लाइफ में कि कुछ मुझे बहुत गलत तरीके से बोल देते थे कि शायद से तुम ऐसे हो, तुम्हें यहाँ नहीं होना चाहिए, तुम यहाँ क्या करते हो, है तुम्हें नाचना नहीं चाहिए। मतलब मैं डांस करती थी, तो शायद से जो सर मुझे सपोर्ट करते थे उन तक के लिए बोलते थे मेरे बिगड़ने के पीछे, मीन्स मेरे ट्रांस वुमेन होने के पीछे मेरे सर का हाथ है। कि कहते हैं ना कि किसी इंसान को बढ़ावा देना, तो वो और बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं और तुम बिगड़ते जा रहे हो। उन्होंने मेरे पेरेंट्स को बुलाया, मेरी मम्मा को बुलाया, मेरे फादर को बुलाया, उन्होंने उनकी शिकायत उनसे करी। तो एक कहते हैं ना कि माँ बाप के सामने किसी का जोर नहीं चलता, वो सीधा प्रिंसिपल रूम में चले गए और उन्होंने उनको बोलना स्टार्ट कर दिया, ये क्या करा रहे हो इसको, कभी तुम देखते नहीं हो, इसके बाल बड़े हैं, हम तो बोलते हैं पर ये हमारी सुनता नहीं है, बस एक बहाना मारता है कि इसको डांस करना है, इसको बाहर जाना होता है, इसलिए मैं डांस मतलब बाल नहीं कटवाता, क्योंकि मेरी आदत थी, मेरे को बड़े बाल बहुत पसंद थे। ये सारी चीज़ें रहीं। स्कूल के अंदर मेरे साथ ऐसी बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती थी कि जैसे कि बॉयज़ स्कूल होता था, जो झीना चपटी होती है ना लड़कों में, कि मार पिटाई हो जाती है कभी कभार, तो उन चीज़ों में मेरी कभी कभार लोग मुझे मज़े मज़े में मेरी शर्ट फाड़ देते थे, मुझे गोदी में उठा लेते थे। तो वो चीज़ मुझे मेरी लाइफ का सबसे बड़ा स्ट्रगल है कि शायद से मैं स्कूल के अंदर होते हुए मुझे खुद के लिए सेफ स्पेस जो होता है वो महसूस नहीं होता था। वो चीज़ें फेस करना, धीरे धीरे मैंने अपनी लाइफ आगे बढ़ाना स्टार्ट करी। 11th क्लास में मैं पहुंची, तब जाके मैं स्कूल की बेस्ट हेड बॉय बनी। और उस समय मुझे मेरे हाथ में कुछ ना कुछ पावर थी कि हाँ मैं लोगों को रोक सकती हूँ इन चीज़ों के लिए, मैं बहुत सारी चीज़ें कर सकती हूँ। तो मैंने अपनी कम्युनिटी के लिए मैंने आगे बढ़ाना स्टार्ट कर दिया, अपनी कम्युनिटी को। अपनी जो स्कूल की जो ट्रांस वुमेन्स थी, थोड़ा सा छुप के रहती हैं लड़कियाँ, होती है ना कि थोड़ा सा सबके सामने बोलना नहीं है, ऐसे नहीं करना, तो धीरे धीरे चीज़ों में इन्वॉल्व होना स्टार्ट कर दिया। एनुअल डे होता तो वो स्पीच देती थी, कोई डांस करता था, कोई सॉन्ग आती थी, तो ये सारी चीज़ रही हैं हमारे साथ। तो इस तरीके से हमारी स्कूल लाइफ की रही।
थैंक यू अंजलि। आपने बात की कि एक सपोर्ट सिस्टम जो है वो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। आई वुड एक्चुअली लाइक टू गो बैक टू यू नाउ बिकॉज we are in an institution. How do you see that affirmation coming in from educational institution in order to support people who come from diverse walks of life?
I think there's little support as if I go by my experience. Most of the administrators in education institutions, they hardly understand these issues. So as you were saying, firstly you have to understand this and then you can appreciate it and then you can come into some action. So that understanding is a real problem. And in fact, that is one area where you and your organization has to work a lot to approach to the education institutions. And it's not that the sessions have to be done with the students only, but with teachers such kind of sessions should be organized, the educational administrators also, or you can think of if you are doing it fine, or you can think of conducting some kind of workshops for teachers targeting to this. And I welcome if you conduct any such thing for teachers here. So once that happens, so then there will be some understanding on the part of the management and the people who are in the administration, then some possibility is there to bring a change in this situation.
I'm very happy to share that we actually do, and it starts with faculty development program only, that you have to make it an important component for the teachers to understand it at very orientation, that this is what we believe in, and if it doesn't come from the organization itself, there will be less of translation into action downstairs. And then comes to the entire administration, wherein you are also talking about security guards at the gate, we are talking about the office assistants and everybody in the system, so that if any child is actually exploring with the idea of their identity, they don't feel discriminated. And trust me when I am saying this, that discrimination starts from the very gate. If you are entering into a campus and the security person is looking at you differently, or from the eye that, oh, this is here for what, is very, very traumatizing in its nature. And I am sure when they shared their journey, it plays a very critical role.
This means not only, as earlier I said, that some understanding should be there among the teachers, but then here comes the point, not only among the teachers, but also the non-teaching staff. I mean, right from guard to all non-teaching people, whether somebody is handling the accounts or somebody is handling any other operations in an education institution, they also must be sensitized.
So, in order to bring in change, actually what is even more important is to create that belonging. I am sure the kind of experiences that we have with especially the trans community are of the ones wherein we had seen people begging on the streets, or maybe into some work which is not acceptable or appreciated by the society. what is more challenging is that we still don't know much about people like Zainab Rifai, who is head diversity, equity and inclusion for Pernod Ricard. We are still very less informative about Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, who is the first transgender person to have spoken at UN General Assembly. We still don't know about Abhinay Ayer, who is the Director Transgender Health at APCOM, which works for Pan Asia. We still don't know much about Shaman Gupta, who heads Trans Men Vertical for the entire nation. We still don't know about Pratika Yashni, who became one of the first police officers to become transgender police person. We still don't know about 20 transgender persons who got inducted into police services in Chhattisgarh. And there are so many more stories. We still don't know much about people like Anjali, who made her way to become and reach a point in her life wherein she is celebrating and affirming to what she has always been. We still are not talking much on Kritika's identity, wherein it is very, very important for people to be recognized and celebrated for who they are. And in order to make it happen, what is very, very important is to understand the power of being you. And it's not just about you being from the community, but everybody who is also appreciative of the idea that your life is your life and we are here no matter what to stand right beside you in whatever you feel like doing in your life. And that is what allyship means. Anjali, I would like to now go back to you again to understand who has been your biggest supporter in this journey and what that support actually meant for you.
मेरी लाइफ का जो सबसे ज़्यादा जिन्होंने मुझे सपोर्ट किया वो मेरी मम्मा थी, और उन्होंने मुझे सबसे पहले मेरी मम्मा ही थी जिन्होंने मतलब जिनको मैंने अपनी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में बताया था, क्योंकि जब मैं 7वीं क्लास में ही थी तभी मुझे अपनी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में पता चला कि शायद से मेरा ये था कि उस समय मुझे समझ आ गया था, क्योंकि मैंने और लोगों को नहीं देखा, मैंने अपनी फीलिंग्स को समझने की स्टार्टिंग करी कि शायद से मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ, मैं हूँ क्या। कभी भी हम मिरर के सामने खड़े होते हैं, देन देखते हैं ना कि हाँ उस समय समझ आता है कि हम असल में क्या हैं, हमारी असलियत, हमारा जो सच्चाई है वो सामने नज़र आती है। तो उस समय मुझे पता चला कि हाँ मैं एक ट्रांस वुमेन हूँ। मैंने अपनी मम्मा को बताया, मेरी मम्मा ने ज़्यादा कुछ मेरे से सवाल नहीं करे, मम्मा ने बस मुझे इतना कहा खुद को टाइम दो, समय के साथ चीज़ बेहतर होती है। तो शायद से आपको अभी समय लेने की ज़रूरत है और थोड़ा सा आपको अपने आप को समझने की ज़रूरत है। आपको वक्त आने पे आपको खुद समझ आ जाएगा। पर जब मैं 10वीं क्लास में पहुंची तो उनकी डेथ हो गई और मुझे सबसे बड़ा झटका उस समय लगा कि मेरी मम्मा मेरे साथ नहीं है, जो मुझे इतना सपोर्ट करती थी, जिनको मेरे पूरे परिवार में से एक वो पहला शख्स थे जिनको मेरी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में पता था। शायद से वो होती तो शायद से मुझे बहुत पहले मेरे फैमिली को पता चल जाता कि हाँ मेरी आइडेंटिटी क्या है। बट मैंने अभी लास्ट ईयर दिसंबर में मैंने अपने फादर को मैंने अपनी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में बताया कि मैं एक ट्रांस वुमेन हूँ। तो उसके बाद जो उनकी चीज़ें थी वो थोड़ी सी बिगड़ गई। फिर मेरी लाइफ के जो सबसे बड़ा सपोर्ट मेरे सर का है, अक्षय सर का, क्योंकि शायद से मैंने उन चीज़ों से निकलना स्टार्ट किया कि जहाँ पे मैंने पहले जॉब करी है, मैंने जिस एनजीओ में वर्क किया है, उनके साथ साथ मुझे जो संभालने वाले जो एक कहते हैं ना कि एक मजबूत बुनियाद जो होती है, क्या ये बुनियाद के ऊपर पूरी इमारत टिकी होती है, तो जो बुनियाद होती है वो मेरे सर है। तीसरे मेरी एक रुदानी मैम है, उन्होंने भी मेरे को बहुत चीज़ें सपोर्ट करी हैं, क्योंकि उन्हों की बदौलत उनसे ही मैंने चीज़ें सीखी हैं। क्योंकि आज के टाइम पे मैं मास्टर ऑफ सोशल वर्क का वर्क कर रही हूँ, पहले मैंने BSW करी थी। तो उन चीज़ों की उन्होंने मुझे गाइडलाइंस दी कि हाँ आप ये कर सकती हो, आपकी लाइफ के लिए आप और आगे अच्छा कर सकती हो। ये लोग थे जो जिन्होंने मुझे बहुत सपोर्ट किया। मेरे टीचर को मैं कभी नहीं भूल सकती, शायद से उन्होंने मुझे उस हद तक सपोर्ट किया कि शायद से जब मेरी पूरी दुनिया मेरे विपरीत चल रही थी, जो मेरे अगेंस्ट थी, शायद से उन्होंने उस समय उन्होंने मेरा साथ दिया। शायद से मुझे स्कूल से निकाला जाता, मुझे क्लास से बाहर खड़ा कर दिया जाता था कि मुझे समझा नहीं जाता था। मीन्स लड़के क्या करते थे मेरे साथ, मेरा बैग बाहर फेंक देते थे स्कूल के बाहर, या ऐसा करते थे कि मेरी टी शर्ट होती थी या शर्ट होती थी उस पर इंक मार देते थे। बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती थी, या कभी कभार मजाक में आँख नीचे झुका के मुझे पीट देते थे। वो सारी चीज़ रही हैं, मैंने ये सारी चीज़ें अपनी लाइफ में फेस करी हैं, क्योंकि शायद से मेरा जो दिमाग है मेरी बॉडी के साथ मैच नहीं खाता था। कि शायद से मुझे लगता था कि कोई मेरे को मेरे दिमाग की तरह समझे, ना कि मेरी बॉडी की तरह। कि शायद से मैं अपने आप को एक लड़की महसूस कर रही हूँ, मैं लड़की हूँ, तो मुझे लड़की की तरह ट्रीट की जाए, ना कि उस लड़के की तरह जैसे कि जो आप खुद में अपने आप को मान रहे हो। क्योंकि शायद से मेरी जो क्लास के जो लड़के थे वो मुझे उस तरीके से आगे नहीं आने देते थे कि हाँ ये इस तरीके से है, तो मुझे बहुत अलग अलग नामों से बोलते थे कि छक्का, मीठा, बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं बोलने के लिए। बट मैंने उन चीज़ों पे ध्यान ना रखते हुए मैंने अपनी स्टडी को पूरा करना चाहा कि मैं अपनी स्टडी पूरी करूं और आने वाले कलों में मैं एक अपना नाम करूं, ना कि उन लोगों की तरह जो आप देखते हो कि बहुत सारी चीज़ होते हैं कि जो बैगिंग करते हैं, मीन्स टोली बधाई, जो बत्ती मांगते हैं, ये सारी चीज़ें। तो इन चीज़ों में मैं इन्वॉल्व नहीं होना चाहती थी स्टार्टिंग से, क्योंकि शायद से मैंने अपने आप को एक लड़की माना है और मैं एक लड़की की तरह जीना चाहती थी।
लेकिन एजुकेशन में अंजलि किस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स आई? क्योंकि इनिशियल एजुकेशन तुम्हारी एक लड़के की तरह हुई, बट देन व्हेन यू एक्सपीरियंस योर आइडेंटिटी देयर आफ्टर, फिर एजुकेशन में किस तरह की, कैसे, हाउ डिड यू प्रोसीड?
हमारी एक पोर्टल है जिसको टीजी कार्ड पोर्टल कहते हैं। उसमें हमारा टीजी कार्ड अप्लाई होता है, तो उसके साथ लेके मेरी जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स थे वो सीधे वो बदले जाते हैं। तो मेरे साथ क्या हुआ कि जब मैंने 12th पास करी, जब मैंने लास्ट ईयर में सेकंड ईयर में थी, तो उस समय मेरी आइडेंटिटी मेरी एक मेल की तरह की, क्योंकि मेरे सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो थे वो मेरे एक मेल के थे। बट जब मैंने अपने डॉक्यूमेंट्स, मतलब मेरा आधार कार्ड, मेरा पैन कार्ड, मेरा अकाउंट, ये सारी चीज़ें बदलवाना स्टार्ट किया, तो शायद से जब मेरा 3rd ईयर का एडमिशन था उसमें वो सारी चीज़ें ने उन सारी चीज़ों ने बहुत ज़्यादा दिक्कत करी कि मैं जाती थी तो वो बोलते थे आपका नाम तो ये है, आप कैसे कर सकते हो, ये सारी चीज़ें किस तरह की होंगी, आप कौन हो, आपका हुलिया आपके आधार कार्ड से मैच नहीं होता, ये सारी चीज़ नहीं होती। मतलब वो सारी चीज़ें उन्होंने मेरे को बताई। बट इस्माइल जो टीजी कार्ड का जो टीजी कार्ड की मैं बात करूँ, एक ये हमारा जो मिनिस्ट्री का एक है जिसमें हमारी जो ट्रांसजेंडर्स के लिए कार्ड बनाया जाता है, ट्रांसजेंडर कार्ड, तो उसमें उनकी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में होता है कि हाँ ये इनका नाम पहले ये था, देन अब बदल के ये हो गया। तो उन चीज़ों को लेके बहुत ज़्यादा मुझे बहुत मदद मिली इन सारी चीज़ों को लेके।
अंजलि, आई हैव अ फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन, और फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन ये है कि आप केशवश्री फाउंडेशन में पीयर काउंसलर के तौर पर भी अब काम कर रही हैं, तो आपके पास देश से अलग अलग तरह की समस्याओं को लेकर लोग फ़ोन करते हैं। अगर आप हमें कुछ 5 ऐसी समस्याएं बता सकें, स्पेशली फ्रॉम द कम्युनिटी, जो लोग जिससे जूझ रहे हैं और जो उन्हें अभी परेशान करता है, ताकि हमारी जितनी ऑडियंस सुन रही है वो भी उन पॉइंट्स को दिमाग में रखे व्हेन एवर दे रीच आउट टू एनीवन।
जो हमारी कम्युनिटी की बहुत ज़्यादा जो समस्याएं होती हैं, सबसे बड़ी बात है जेंडर। शायद से लोग अपने जेंडर को लेके बहुत ज़्यादा कि मुझे अपने जेंडर के बारे में नहीं पता, कि मीन्स जब हम छोटे होते हैं कि जब हम बड़े होने होते हैं तो चीज़ें वैसे, एक कहते हैं ना कि हम बाय बर्थ हम उस टाइप के होते हैं कि हमें चीज़ें नहीं समझ आती। आपका जन्म हुआ है और आपको डॉक्टर ने बोला है आप एक मेल हो, बट आने वाले कलों में आपकी फीलिंग्स किस तरह से, वो तो आपको डॉक्टर नहीं बता सकता ना। तो वही सारी चीज़ जेंडर को लेके बहुत ज़्यादा इश्यूज़ होते हैं कि लोग उस समय तक नहीं समझ पाते कि उनको अपनी आइडेंटिटी के बारे में पता हो, कि हाँ वो एक बोल सके कि हाँ मैं एक ट्रांस वुमेन हूँ, या मैं एक गे हूँ, या मैं एक नॉन बाइनरी पर्सन हूँ। वो सारी चीज़ नहीं बता पाते। अपने आप को क्लियर करने के लिए वो सारी इश्यूज़ होते हैं जो मेरे से क्लियर करते हैं। दूसरा, पार्टनर को लेके, शायद से हमारी लाइफ में हमें पार्टनर नहीं मिलते, क्योंकि हम चाहते हैं, शायद से हमारी फैमिली सपोर्ट नहीं करती, हमारे दोस्त हमारा साथ नहीं देते। क्यों? क्योंकि शायद से जब हमारे दोस्तों को पता, मैं अपने दोस्त की बात करूं तो जब मैंने अपने दोस्तों को बताया था कि हाँ यस मेरी फीलिंग्स लड़कियों जैसी, तो उन्होंने बोला भाई नहीं, दूर, हमें नहीं पता तू हमारे साथ क्या करेगा। उन्होंने मुझे इस तरीके से ट्रीट किया। उस समय मुझे लगा कि शायद से ये मेरे दोस्त हैं। दोस्त वो होता है जो आपके लिए एक बाउंड्री जो होती है, एक बाउंड्री है, उसको क्रॉस करके वो आपके लिए वो हर चीज़ कर सके जो आपके लिए अच्छी हो। शायद से मेरे दोस्त वो ऐसे थे नहीं जो मेरे लिए मेरी बाउंड्री क्रॉस कर सके। शायद से मेरे लिए मेरी कम्युनिटी थी जो मेरे को समझ सकती थी, और उन्होंने मेरे लिए वो बाउंड्री क्रॉस करी। तो एक पार्टनर की जो मैं बात करी थी, पार्टनर बहुत, मतलब हमें चाहिए होता है कि हम किसी से बात शेयर करें, हम अपनी फीलिंग्स के बारे में किसी को बताएं, कि शायद से हमारी ज़िंदगी में कोई इंसान नहीं है जो हमारी चीज़ों को समझ सके, हमें जान सके। कहते हैं ना कि इंसान अकेले में रोता है, तो वो रोते समय किस इंसान को याद करता है? जिसको हम प्यार करते हैं, जिसको हम अपना मानते हैं। तो पार्टनर इश्यूज़ बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं, शायद से हमें वो पार्टनर नहीं मिलता। तीसरा, फैमिली इश्यूज़ भी बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं। शायद से फैमिली हमें एक्सेप्ट नहीं करती चीज़ों को लेके, क्योंकि फैमिली, जब हम फैमिली को अपने बारे में बताते तो फैमिली बहुत सारे इश्यूज़ क्रिएट करती हैं। मेरे सामने ऐसे बहुत सारे इश्यूज़ आए हैं कि फैमिली बच्चों को बंद कर देती है कमरे में, मारती है, पीटती है, मतलब बहुत तरीके का, मतलब कहा जाए ना कि हाँ फैमिली आपको सपोर्ट नहीं करी तो वो उस हद तक जा सकती है, शायद से वो चीज़ हम सोच भी नहीं सकते। तीसरा स्टडी, चौथा स्टडी, क्योंकि मैं एक ट्रांस वुमेन हूँ, ये चीज़ें ट्रांस मैन के साथ ज़्यादा होती हैं। क्यों? क्योंकि शायद से वो अपने आप को बायोलॉजिकली एक फीमेल तो होते हैं, बट उनकी फीलिंग्स उनकी एक मेल जैसी होती है। अब मैं किसी लड़के को बोलूं कि तुम फ्रॉक पहन के स्कूल में जाओ तो शायद से उसको स्वीकार नहीं होगा, कि वो कहेगा कि नहीं सॉरी मैं नहीं जा सकता। ये सारी चीज़ें होती हैं कि वो नहीं चाहते कि मैं एक फ़्रॉक पहन के मैं एक गर्ल्स स्कूल में जाऊं, कि मेरे उस तरीके से मुझे ट्रीट किया जाए कि मुझे कोई कर रही है, ऐसा है, तू जाएगी नहीं जाएगी, इस तरीके से कोई मुझे ट्रीट ना करे। तो वो क्या करते हैं, वो ड्रॉप आउट कर देते हैं उन चीज़ों को लेके, वो स्कूल नहीं जा पाते या अपनी स्टडी कंप्लीट नहीं कर पाते। स्टडी। पांचवा है सबसे बड़ी चीज़, हम डिप्रेस्ड बहुत जल्दी हो जाते हैं। क्योंकि क्या होता है, हम अपनी HRT को लेके बात करें, ट्रांस मैन और ट्रांस वुमेन्स के अंदर ये होता है कि हम जब अपनी HRT हार्मोन रेट्रोथेरेपी जो है, जो हम अपनी ट्रांजेक्शन के लिए चीज़ें जो यूज़ करते हैं, हम डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं, GID लेटर बनवाते हैं, तो उन सारी चीज़ों में जो हमें मूड स्विंग्स होते हैं, मीन्स कभी कभार हमारा ऐसा होता है कि मैं खुद HRT पे हूँ और मुझे खुद को पता है कि मेरे मूड स्विंग्स कितने होते हैं, कि मैं कितने परेशान हो जाती हूँ, कितना अकेलापन महसूस होता है। उन चीज़ों को लेके हमारी बहुत जल्दी, मतलब हमारी सोच बदलती है कि हमें बहुत ज़्यादा अकेलापन लगेगा, हमारा मन करेगा, हम बाई चांस हमारे साथ क्या होता है कि हमारी लाइफ में कोई ऐसा इंसान नहीं होता जो हमें समझे, तो अकेलापन खाता है और वो चीज़ हमारे माइंड को डिप्रेस्ड कर देती है, मन करता है कि हम मर जाए। ये सारी चीज़ रहती हैं, तो उस चीज़ों को लेके ये सारी चीज़ें जो हमारी कम्युनिटी में बहुत ज़्यादा आगे रहती।
थैंक यू अंजलि। वैसे तो अगर आप देखा जाए तो ऐसी कोई भी अवस्था नहीं है जिसमें द वेरी फीलिंग ऑफ यू बीइंग इन अ सेपरेट स्पेस जो आपको हाउंड नहीं करती है। चाहे वो आपके बचपन में आपके ऐसे फ्रेंड्स हो जो आपके साथ आपके आइडिया ऑफ आइडेंटिटी को सेलिब्रेट नहीं कर रहे हो, जो आपके साथ आपके जैसे गेम्स नहीं खेल रहे हो, एडुकेशन में फिर चाहे वो लोग, जैसे आपने अभी बोला कि आपको काफ़ी ताने सुनने मिले, काफ़ी अलग तरीके का बिहेवियर लोगों से मिलने को मिला, ऑल ऑफ दिस एक्चुअली इज़ अ रिज़ल्ट जिसकी वजह से डिप्रेशन और दैट वेरी फीलिंग कि आपके साथ कोई नहीं है जो इसका कारण बनते हैं। फर्दर जब आप स्कूल एडुकेशन कंप्लीट करके कॉलेज में भी जाते हो, teachers are not that sensitive. Forget about the students, the whole idea is still not coming through. Teachers are not talking about the fact that okay, it's okay to be yourself and we are all here to celebrate you. और हर एक चीज़ में आई थिंक इट हैज़ टू डू मोर विद द कंडीशनिंग जिस तरीके की हमारी सबकी हुई है। वी आर सो हेट्रोनॉर्मेटिव इन द अप्रोच दैट वी आर पार्ट ऑफ कि ना चाहते हुए भी हम बार बार जेंडर रोल्स पर आके खड़े हो जाते हैं जो हमारी सोसाइटी ने हमारे लिए सेट किए हैं। सिमिलर थिंग एट द वर्क प्लेस, आपको फ्रॉम द वेरी जॉइनिंग इटसेल्फ आपके पास इतना भी अधिकार नहीं है कि आप अपनी जेंडर आइडेंटिटी को खुद से चुन सकें। यू आर गिवन 2 boxes टू टिक अ मार्क इन, there is still no box which ask you for self identification. There are always labels given to you to tick. There are always conversations which are not very inclusive in nature, wherein people are only talking about the very fact that this world is still living in a binary zone. And all of this is a trigger. All of this is something, and it happens with each one of us. Just imagine a situation where we are not represented and reflected for who we are, is very, very detrimental in its own state. Kritika, next is for you. Who has been your support in this journey and what has been most affirming moment in your life so far?
I think my mom has been very supportive. She, the moment I came out to her, she said that this is unnatural, and from that to her having a pride flag on her wallpaper, I think she's come a long way. And yeah, I mean, it is just very beautiful to see my mom be like, अच्छा तो आपके friend जो हैं ये आप क्या बोलूँ मैं, आप करके बात करूँ, तू करके बात करूँ, ये लड़के हैं लड़की हैं नॉन बाइनरी, आप मुझे बता दो मैं वैसे ही एड्रेस करूँगी. So I think that is very affirming for not just my own identity but also my friends who are from the community. She's been a constant rock, constant support. My sister has been a constant support in my life. I came out to her and she said, "To achhi baat hai, you have double the options." So I think that's the kind of reaction that I was sort of expecting also. Ki, "Haan, chal, theek hai." She's more sensitized to these issues. The younger generation, I think I want to talk about the Gen Z. The Gen Z gives me, I am also Gen Z, but the younger Gen Z people who are coming and accepting who they are and coming out and saying that, okay, we are proud of who we are, more confident in their approach. All the creators, I'll give a few examples. My own flatmate, E, they're non-binary, queer filmmaker, they're doing great. They give me a lot of like confidence to be who I am. And people from the community like Anjali, for example, a lot of like everybody at the Lalit, ever since I've joined the Lalit, seeing so many queer people gives me confidence to be actually who I am. The most affirming moment, I'd say, when my mom corrected somebody and was like, "Uske pronouns de दें मैम, आप ऐसे एड्रेस मत करो." One more moment was when my मासी was coming कि ये पतली हो जाएगी तो इसकी शादी हो जाएगी, आप इसको ना कुछ करवा दो, इसको VLC से ज्वाइन करवा दो आप. एंड माई मॉम वाज लाइक, उसको नहीं पता कि वो लड़के से शादी करेगी, लड़की से शादी करेगी कि नहीं करेगी, और आप ये सब छोड़ो, उसको अपने करियर पे फोकस करने दो, ये सब तो बाद में, ये सारी बातें बाद में हो जाएंगी. आई थिंक वाज वेरी अफर्मिंग फॉर मी, क्योंकि शी इज़ एब्सोल्युटली लाइक, इवन टू हर फैमिली शी इज़ लाइक, yes, okay, I accept my kid for who they are, and I will fight for who they are.
Thank you. This is truly very, very inspirational, and kudos to parents like of yours. But I would also like to say that it's not easy. It's not easy for you, even though there is a privilege of you having acceptive parents, even though you have a privilege of being in a campus which is very acceptive of you and you see so many like-minded people. But in order to experience the world, you are putting yourself to the world and not just to few people. So you are there for even people who are still living in the day back when there were no conversations, and very strong with their idea of existence. And I would like to say that we have to face the world together. It is not going to and never going to be a journey wherein you alone would do anything, and this is where allyship plays a very, very important role. And in order to create an inclusive world for each one of us, I think it is very, very important. I would like to highlight that at the Laliteswari Hospitality Group, we have a definite program, with a defined one. We understand that there are people who are coming from various walks of life, be it people from the LGBTQI spectrum. जैसा कि अंजलि ने बताया, all this bullying, tantrums, all these comments, Anjali might have survived all of this, but there are so many who couldn't. What are we doing for them, and where is the vision of them being part of an organization like of ours? We are talking a lot about you not having acceptive families, but where do they go if the parents are not supportive? Who is their chosen family in that case? So we have a defined program wherein, irrespective of your education background, you are coming to us, you are working with us, you're getting an exposure in the industry, you're getting to learn about the industry. And trust me when I am saying this, that there is absolutely no industry wherein you will not be able to make somebody feel safe and work. आप यहाँ की भी बात करिए, यहाँ पर भी अगर आप जॉब असेसमेंट करेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा there are so many spaces जहाँ पर शायद से बहुत अच्छे लेवल ऑफ एडुकेशन की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, and these are the areas wherein you could easily train somebody to get there. Similar thing what we have done, and I'm really extremely proud that we have over 200 queer people working in various of our hotels. More so, we have an autistic person who play piano in our hotel in Delhi, 2 visually impaired persons playing piano in our Mumbai hotel and Kolkata hotel, and so many other queer people working. We were working out on parties and the scene, and I give it to Mr. Keshav Suri, who actually have given the India the queer safe space for people to be themselves. But now with this evolution of idea of identities and people, we thought that there is so much that we are doing, and if we really look at this spectrum of disabilities, we have never seen party for autistic people. And I take immense pleasure in saying that last week we hosted one of the first of its kind party even for autistic children, and we had over 100 kids. You will not imagine, their parents were literally in tears, because they have never imagined their kids to be in a space like this to celebrate their autism. And this is what we say to every parent, every partner, or everyone who we meet in this journey, that the least you are doing is not accepting somebody, is that you are acceptive of the fact that you have to reflect back on your own journey, and from there the acceptance comes. It is not something that you are doing for anybody else, you have to do it more for yourself. If I am to appreciate somebody, that is from where the change begins. And I really am very hopeful that with people like you and the stories like of yours, we are definitely going to see a far better world wherein everybody could see themselves, everybody feel heard, and everybody gets to appreciate each other, not for the difference that they are bearing just, but the holistic idea of your own self. And I think once we reach that stage wherein you are celebrated for who you are, the world is definitely going to be more safe and inclusive for each one of us. My final question to you, now that you heard so many of the stories, and I really give it to you for the sort of leadership that you have, wherein you are making sure that there is a dedicated space for queer stories in this conference every year. How do you envision this journey when it comes to educating the queer folks at DME or in education industry in general? How do you see that change and the acceptance journey, not from the student side but from the faculty coming in?
I think things have to be done at multiple levels. One, something has to be done at the policy makers level, though a lot of things have been done during previous years, but it has to be inducted as part of the curriculum in whichever subject, even if no separate subject or separate contents are created, but whatever subjects we teach, whether it's media or could be any other subject, some spaces, some topics, some such things should be inducted in the syllabus wherein some sensitization happens, and it has to be done at all levels, at the primary school level or the secondary school level and the higher education, all that has to be there. And then the sensitization of teachers is also, so periodic workshops kind of thing, which as you said you have already initiated, but I believe it has to be more in numbers or more widespread in all the educational institutions, or it could be a mandatory thing for the educational institution. And then obviously like in this institution in the DME Media School, students came forward last year and they wanted to organize a pride parade. Now the duty of a person like me is that I supported it and asked them to go ahead with that without asking the management, without asking anybody. I said, okay, go ahead with this. So last year they did this. This year again, since we were organizing this workshop and this seminar, this conference, and last year also it happened almost the same period. So this June being the Pride month, but this year somehow the students were not forthcoming organizing something. Then I asked them that since we are organizing this conference on this topic identity and culture, and this is very much related to last year's topic which was on inclusivity, so why don't you do something? So the two students who took lead last year, they were not coming forward. So I motivated them to do the things. And then I asked them, then we will do the curtain raiser of this conference on the theme, I mean link it to your pride theme and then do something. So as a curtain raiser of this workshop, they did a program on the Friday, on 16th on this. So that is how, I mean not only that I am permitting them, last year I permitted them, this time I motivated them to do something of this kind, so that, and then again they are organizing these kind of sessions, something will go into them. It's not that for the fashion statement you do this, because lot of young people to show this to the world that they are very progressive and they understand these issues and they organize the pride parade or any such activity or event, they should also understand the whole issue. That is very, very important, and lot of work is to be done in that area.
I think this actually reminds me of one of our recent conversation with our Mr. Keshav Suri as well, that whatever we are doing in this space is not something that we are doing for charity. We are doing it because this is the right thing to do. And that very fact is what is a reflection of your words as well, that we need to be one who takes a chance on themselves to get there on ground, to not help anybody, because like I mentioned that we are still living with privilege but are not somebody who can put authority on somebody to bring in the change. The change can only come when there is a belonging, and for that belonging to come you have to actually relate and connect with people more than just be somebody this is what is expected out of you. And this is why I always mention to everybody that we also absorb in the system that if you are expecting that the lull is the safest space, for sure it is, but it cannot be safer if you are not putting this in your mind yourself, that this is also a very transformative journey for everybody else too. And everybody who works with the team is on their own journey of learning, of growing, of evolving as an individual. So you have to keep educating people. You have to be one such who is continuously igniting minds in order to bring that change. And not always your expectations will be met, and in order to get there you have to be more of also tolerant in your nature. You have to give them that space. I would like to close by saying that for everybody who identifies as queer or who is wanting to explore or who is still on the journey of exploration, that by not changing yourself you are changing the world, and this is to two of you. So thank you for being you and for taking that ownership onto you to make the change happen. And for anybody who is watching us and also wants to support and assist the community in their journey as an ally, what we all have to do is to just give the same amount of love and respect that we are all wanting for our own selves. The moment you give it back the same way that you are expecting for yourself, the world will be a better place. And believe me when I am saying this, that the world needs people like you and ourselves to be a better space. So let's just get everybody involved. Let's just make people connect, belong to this world, and let's bring the change.
On that note, I'd also like to add that a lot of education institutes, not just education institutes but also workplaces, do tokenism, which is to highlight that, okay, we have one queer person working with us. Hi, look at this person. That's not how this should go, you know. It's a constant effort. It's a constant battle, because hiring queer people is easy. They have the qualification to hire them. But creating safe spaces for queer people is where your journey as an educative institution, as a workplace, or anything can start or even begin. We need employment, but most importantly, we need safe spaces. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an insightful session. How beautifully you explained about the changing society and diversity, and you have shared your experiences. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our esteemed guests for gracing this event with your presence. Your support and open-mindedness create an environment where acceptance and love flourish. Thank you for joining us in the celebration of diversity and unity. Now I request Professor Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dean DME Media School and convener of ICAN6, to give his concluding remarks. Sir, please.
No need.
Moving forward, with this, we come to the conclusion of this session. I would like to thank Akshay Tyagi, Kritika Kanojia, Anjali Rao and Dev for their valuable time and sharing their experience with us. I extend my gratitude to the management and leadership team of DME. Heartfelt thanks to Dr. Amrish Saxena for his guidance, Dr. Susmita Bala for giving us directions and support at every stage of the conference. Special thanks to the faculty members and staff of Media School for executing all the sessions. I would also like to thank the production and the technical team for providing the technical support. Special thanks to the newsletter and media coordination and social media team for the coverage of the event. I would also like to thank the designing team for the creative support. I also wish to thank the administrative staff of DME. Special thanks to our conference partners, knowledge partners, international partners and media partners. The recordings of all the sessions of ICAN6 can be accessed through our official YouTube channel, DME TV, our social media handles, ICAN page and DME page, and subscribe to DME TV.
The next session of this mega conference will be on cultural promotion through craft and design for empowerment of women, tribals and artisans, which will be delivered by Dr. Sharmila Kayal, Associate Professor and Head Department of Journalism and Mass Communication at University of West Bengal. This is an online session which is currently taking place on Zoom. For now, I, Jessica Shaw, with my co-host Anaika, take your leave. Stay tuned for many more exciting sessions at ICAN6. Thank you.